This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
A double tragedy. Nigeria mourns the death of 7 people killed while on a reconnaissance mission to rescue dozens kidnapped from a school. People in Ebola-hit areas in the DRC are resisting the ongoing vaccination. We have a live report. And Libya's interior minister survives an alleged assassination attempt. Hello and welcome. You're watching Africa Live. We're coming to you live from Nairobi. I'm Hannah Vivers. Here are more stories making headlines this hour. In business news, Sudan devalues currency in the latest effort to overcome the country's economic crisis and access debt relief. And in your sport news, Tanzania swimming hopeful Colin Saliboko eyes Tokyo 2020 Olympic ticket. 7 people have died in a plane crash near Nigeria's capital, Abuja. The passengers were on board a military aircraft. They were heading to the country's Niger state to take part in a surveillance mission connected to the search for dozens of people abducted by gunmen last week. The gunmen attacked a school, killing 1 schoolboy and kidnapping at least 42 people. The cause of the plane crash remains unknown, though the military says the pilot had reported engine failure. The military is currently investigating the crash.
I witnessed the plane before it crashed. I just came back from church. I want to go and buy something. Only for me to come outside the compound, and I saw plane coming close as if it wants to land in front of our compound. I was like, what kind of driving is this? What kind of driving is this?
Well, to Libya, where the Interior Minister Fathi Bashaga says he escaped a well-planned assassination attempt. Gunmen had fired on his motorcade in the capital, Tripoli. According to Bashaga, a vehicle had been encroaching on his convoy, and then people inside that vehicle opened fire. This reportedly led to an exchange of fire, leading to the death of one of Bashaga's guards and 1 attacker. Officials say they have arrested 2 of the assailants. Both were on the police's wanted list. Meanwhile, the UN envoy to Libya, Jan Kubis, has condemned the incident and called for an investigation. This attack on the interior minister comes at a time when the internationally recognized government of national accord prepares to make way for a new interim government. Well, for more on this story, CGTN's Adel Amuruhi now joins us from Cairo. Hi, Adel. Thank you so much for joining us. What more details, Adel, do you have about this attack?
So we know for sure that it was a shootout between the convoy that included the Interior Minister of the Government of National Accord, Fathi Bashaga, and another vehicle. As you've mentioned briefly, the casualties of the shootout, but it remains unclear exactly how the events unfolded. Bashaga has claimed that it is an assassination attempt, also claiming that it was a very well organized attempt, not something that was created by chance. However, on the other hand, we have another official security apparatus that belongs to the Government of National Accord as well, that is called the Stability Supporting Apparatus, which was an armed security apparatus founded by Faiz al-Sarraj, the head of the Government of National Accord, just a few weeks ago, exactly on the 18th of January. And it turns out that the vehicle Bashaga is accusing of attempting to assassinate him was a vehicle that belongs to that apparatus and has been coming back from an assignment given by that. The stability apparatus, the supporting stability apparatus has released a statement also claiming that it did not attempt any assassination against Fathi Bashaga. It says that it rejects the accusations. It says that there has been a shootout, and it blamed the Interior Minister's convoy to start opening fire. So both parties are accusing each other. It also says that the investigation will be going on to see how and why the events unfolded. The stability supporting apparatus says that the event happened because of lack of coordination between the minister's convoy and their forces. However, we're still waiting for furthermore details. We know that one from the apparatus personnel have died. The forensic report says that he has not died from any shootout because of the vehicle he was on board crashed. This has led to his death. So that's one fact we know for now. The interim Prime Minister Debeba has, as well as you've said, Jan Kubis, the UN Special Envoy, both have called for an independent investigation to see how exactly the situation unfolded.
Thank you so much for that, Adel Muruki, speaking to us from Cairo. Well, vote counting is underway for Niger's presidential runoff. The ruling party's candidate, Mohamed Bazoum, is facing off against a former president, Mohamed Ousmane. The poll could usher in the country's first democratic transition of power. Well, staying with that story, it's being reported that 7 poll workers were killed on Sunday when their vehicle hit a landmine. They had been on their way to polling stations in Niger's southwest region. Niger has faced numerous militant attacks. The issue of security was a central pledge in both presidential campaigns. Let's head over to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where 4 people have died following the latest reports of Ebola. The nation's health officials have warned that locals are resisting measures aimed at containing the highly contagious disease. A vaccination drive was launched last week. But as past outbreaks, people in the region doubt the existence of Ebola and thus reject measures aimed at checking its spread. Well, CGTN's Chris Ochamringa joins us from Kinshasa. Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us. Chris, reading the reports, it seems the biggest challenge is getting the community to cooperate by observing preventative measures. How are officials and healthcare workers trying to turn that around?
Well, authorities in North Kivu province are holding meetings with the local leaders and people who are respected in the community to try and use them to spread the word to the people that the response to the Ebola outbreak is for their own good. The vaccines are safe and very effective so that this disease does not claim more lives and also spread to other parts of the DRC. The people in Butembo have, this is the second outbreak to happen in Butembo. The 10th in the DRC happened in the same area. That was the epicenter, and health workers there faced a lot of resistance. There were people who have refused to have health workers enter their homes, to their homes after coming into contact with Ebola patients, and also some of them have refused to have their relatives, their loved ones, handed over to the health teams to carry out safe and dignified burials. So it's a very big challenge that the officials are trying to use, the local authorities to convince them. Now, there's a reason why the people there are very resistant to this Ebola response. I spoke to people in Butembo, and they said that the first patient who was declared dead on the 7th of February had a fight with her husband. She was badly beaten and she started bleeding. Now, one of the symptoms of Ebola is, bleeding, diarrhea and coughing. So people believe that the first patient did not die of Ebola. They believe she died because she had a fight with her husband. And that word has spread across Butembo, so people are very resistant. They believe that the health authorities, the Congolese health authorities, are using this to try and make money from the international community. But the officials at the National Institute of Biomedical Research carried out tests on the woman's samples and confirmed that it was Ebola. And so they're trying to convince the people. It will take some time, it will take a lot of work by the health officials, but they're determined to work with the World Health Organization and other international partners to convince the people to start accepting the vaccines and also allow their homes to be disinfected.
Thank you so much for all those details, Chris. Chris Ochamringa speaking to us from Kinshasa, DRC. Well, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has expressed hope for stronger ties, stronger trade relations with China to boost the economy's recovery from the pandemic. He made the remarks during the official visit of China's senior diplomat Yang Jiechi. CGTN's Hilary Ayesiga has more from Kampala.
discussing ways to strengthen economic partnership. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni and Yang Jiechi agree on how to improve the two countries' trade relations.
We talked about the issue of export of products to China from Uganda, especially agricultural products.
Uganda exports coffee, tea, minerals, and other products to China. But like many other countries, Uganda was hit hard by effects of COVID-19. It's now looking for ways to finance its national budget for 2021-2022 financial year. And China says it's ready to offer support.
China attaches importance to Uganda's views of bilateral relations. China will work with Uganda to deepen political mutual trust and expand cooperation within the framework of promoting Belt and Road cooperation.
Government figures show that foreign direct investments from China to Uganda reached around $225 million in 2018. China has invested heavily in infrastructure development such as oil and gas, hydropower dams, road and agriculture developments. Uganda aims to graduate to a first-class economy by 2040, and to achieve this, they are now looking at their Asian counterparts. Hilary Yesiga, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Let's now go to news making headlines from outside the continent. A large crowd has appeared again at the Khetan Center in Myanmar's biggest city, Yangon. Protesters are carrying photos of detained leader Aung San Suu Kyi and demonstrating against the military's takeover of the elected government. Gao Jia reports from Yangon.
Now I'm standing at the new University Road, the downtown area of Yangon. Thousands of people in different cities across Myanmar are taking to the streets, demanding the release of Aung San Suu Kyi and other detained leaders. The nationwide strike is popularly known in Myanmar as 5-2's revolution because Monday's date contains 5 number 2s. It's February 22, 2021. A committee involving 25 organizations from different fields, including political parties, labor unions, student unions, religious groups, and lawyers, planned this general strike. Myanmar's largest supermarket, City Mart, and other popular private businesses and shopping malls announced on Sunday that the businesses will be closed throughout Monday. All public facilities, shopping malls, local markets, hospitals, and schools in Myanmar are also closed. At around 1 a.m. Monday morning, Yangon police blocked the roads to almost all the foreign embassies and the UN office in Yangon, and over 50 military trucks have arrived in downtown Yangon. But until now, we didn't see the military and the police trucks. They have the conflict they don't have. As we can see, the protesters are shouting the slogans, "We want democracy, free our leader, and respect our votes." Actually, the internet services in this country has been cut off from 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. every day for the past 8 days. This is Gao Jiayi for CGTN reporting in Yangon.
In Spain, protests in support of a jailed rapper and free speech turned violent for a 6th consecutive night in Barcelona. Sunday's rally began peacefully, but as night fell, tension increased as protesters, mostly dressed in dark clothes, marched through the city center to National Police headquarters. After being pelted by rocks, trash, and firecrackers, Catalan police moved in to clear the streets. More than 100 people have been arrested since rapper Pablo Hasél was arrested on Tuesday. He was sentenced to 9 months in prison for his tweets and lyrics that insulted the Spanish monarch and praised convicted terrorists. Well, United Airlines has announced its voluntary grounding of its fleet of Boeing 777 airplanes. The decision followed Saturday's emergency landing on takeoff of one of its aircraft in Denver due to an engine failure. The Federal Aviation Administration has asked for tougher inspections of 777 aircraft installed with the Pratt & Whitney PW1000 series engines. United Airlines says it will discuss with U.S. regulators steps to ensure the aircraft's safety standards and return to service. The carrier has 52 Boeing 777 jets, including 24 in active service and 28 in storage. Let's now take a short break. When we return, A grim milestone. Coronavirus deaths and toll stops 500,000 in the United States.
Africa is a continent of diversity, with varied climates and enchanting geography, and a people so distinct, but with a shared enduring spirit. We are at the heart of the continent to bring you the untold stories.
Let's have a look.
We celebrate Africa as it shapes its own destiny.
Tunis, Tyre, Juba, Johannesburg, Ethiopia, Tanzania.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Nigeria is my home. 160 million vibrant, ambitious individuals constantly seeking the perfect self-expression. It is these people who inspired me to be that person that is seen, to be a voice that is heard, and ultimately to be the anchor that I am. I have to tap in, tune in, and turn on the very best qualities within me to deliver the news. I'm Richard Nta, an anchor for CGTN.
Welcome back. You're watching Africa Live. Reports say the U.S. death toll from coronavirus has topped 500,000. The milestone underscores the grave threat the virus still poses nationwide, even as more Americans get vaccinated. Toby Muse is more from Arlington, Virginia.
NBC News is reporting more than 500,000 Americans have died due to the coronavirus. To put that number into perspective, if you took all of the Americans who died in the First World War, the Second World War, and the Vietnam War, it would still be less than those who have died due to the coronavirus. It's the highest death toll on the planet. But looking at the daily infection rates and the daily death toll, they are way off the record seen in the darkest days of winter. And experts hope that with ever increasing numbers of vaccinated, that tendency is set to keep going lower. Severe winter weather across the US has caused COVID-19 vaccine shipment delays. The cold weather closed vaccine sites and slowed down the transport of the vaccines. The White House expects any delay to shipments to rapidly catch up this week. Currently, the US is administering around 1.8 million shots a day. Now that the cold weather has receded in parts of the country, some vaccination test sites are resuming service. In a desire to speed up vaccination rates, there's an ongoing debate about whether patients should receive one shot or two shots the way the vaccines were designed. One study shows that those who have already had the coronavirus may only need one shot. It's enough to boost antibodies and destroy the virus. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the public face of the fight against the coronavirus, stressed Sunday his preference for two shots for every person vaccinated.
The difference between the level of antibodies after one dose versus two doses is about 10-fold higher. And that is really important because when you have that high a degree comparable to the single dose alone, that's the cushion that you would like to have when you get a variant that isn't as well protected against.
Near the beginning of his presidency, President Joe Biden pledged 100 million shots in his first 100 days. Now, that was criticized for being not ambitious enough given the scale of the problem. It now looks like that goal may be easily surpassed. Toby Muse reporting for CGTN, Arlington, Virginia.
The government of Somalia and the United Nations are seeking more than $1 billion to address a climate-related crisis as locusts continue to cause devastation in most regions of the country. CGTN's Abdulaziz Bello has more details from Mogadishu.
Yusuf Haji is chasing away locusts that have invaded his farm in central Somalia. Swarms of desert locusts have descended on farms in the town of Beledweyne for the third time in less than a year, destroying crops and other vegetation.
We use flames and smoke from burning tires to chase away the locusts. We also use empty tins to make noise, but the locusts are not going anywhere. We are appealing for help. We've heard of aerial spraying being done, but the service has not reached us. We lost our previous harvest. We do not want to suffer again.
The situation is worse for Mohammed Abdi, who lives in the same area as Yusuf. Young hoppers unable to fly have ravaged his entire farm, leaving him with nothing to harvest.
A swarm of locusts has destroyed my tomatoes, pepper and pawpaw. The locusts move occasionally, but they return once there is something that they can eat on our farms.
The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization has warned that poor rainfall, flooding and desert locusts are contributing to extreme food insecurity in Somalia. Up to 2.6 million people have been affected.
Food insecurity is expected to worsen, driven by the effects of localized floods, below average rainfall, and a worsening desert locust infestation with an estimated 2.7 million people expected to face crisis or emergency levels of food insecurity by mid-2021.
The federal government and the United Nations have appealed for more than $1 billion in humanitarian assistance as a climate-related crisis continues to affect millions across the country.
The 2021 HRP aims to assist 4 million people with humanitarian aid, including IDPs, refugees, and returnees. The plan requires $1.09 billion, a slight increase from the $1.01 billion requested in 2020.
Heavy rainfall is expected later in April, and authorities are concerned that it will cause flooding, especially in riparian areas. Mogadishu has declared a second state of emergency more than a year after a swarm of desert locusts first arrived in the country. Locals are now reporting new sightings of swarms in new areas, further affecting government's efforts of combating the crop-eating insects. Abdulaziz Bilon, CGTN, Mogadishu, Somalia.
In Uganda, more people are being more mindful about what they eat. In the northern part of the country, boo sauce is constantly making its way to dinner tables, and for good reason. CGTN's Leon Seanga reports.
Gresorik carefully shreds leaves to make bo, a well-liked vegetable sauce from northern Uganda. It's made from leaves of cowpea plants, and it requires meticulous preparation.
It is best when it is still young, tender. That's when you come out with very good sauce. And when you are cutting like this, it has to be as small as you can see.
The leaves are boiled, tomatoes are then added for flavor. But there is more than one way of making bo sauce. Grace uses peanut paste in hers.
You can add fish, dry smoked fish, or smoked meat in it, and you eat boiled, which helps to reduce this commonly known as lifestyle diseases, sugar diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol.
Bo is widely eaten and cooked in restaurants that specialize in northern Uganda food. And in homes like Grace's, it's regularly dished up. Besides bo, malakwang is another popular sauce from northern Uganda. And all these make for a perfect vegetarian meal. Malakwang is a sour, green and red vegetable sauce. It is often served with millet bread and sweet potatoes to add to the spread.
Millet is our staple food, and we know that millet is full of iron. It's good for the body, good for the blood.
According to nutritionists, such meals offer numerous nutritional benefits.
In traditional foods, most of them are prepared by steaming and boiling. So the number of calories in those foods are lower and fats. And the more the fats in a food, mostly saturated fats, the higher the chance you have to get lifestyle diseases.
Despite Uganda's diverse cuisine, ailments associated with unhealthy eating are responsible for some deaths. According to a Ministry of Health survey, non-communicable diseases like hypertension, heart diseases, and even diabetes account for 40% of lives lost in the country. Experts say that can change if people eat well. For Grace and her family, bo could keep the doctor way. Leon Sanyange, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Let's go to South Africa now, where concerns still loom over the potential impact that a new wave of telecommunications satellites could have on astronomy research. The country is set to host a square-kilometer array, which will be the world's largest radio telescope. However, its space observation activities could be hampered by Starlink, a company which plans to launch thousands of mini satellites to deliver high-speed internet. CGTN's Travis Andrews has more with this report.
The Square Kilometre Array is one of the world's most ambitious multinational scientific projects, which is expected to revolutionize astronomy. The radio telescope will be built in South Africa's Northern Cape. It will be capable of surveying deep into the universe and is not affected by issues such as cloud cover, which can affect optical telescopes. However, its capabilities could be hindered by Starlink's mega constellation, which is a network of thousands of low Earth orbiting satellites. The company plans to use the technology to deliver high-speed wireless internet to remote locations.
Thing that gives off a radio signal, whether it's on the ground like a cell phone or a microwave, up in the air like an airplane, or in this particular case a satellite that flies over the area where the telescope is going to operate, can potentially interfere with the telescopes. Now, Starlink wants to build 12,000 satellites that are going to be in orbit, and they've applied for permission to add an additional 30,000 to that. So there's going to be a lot of these satellites up in orbit.
Starlink was founded by billionaire Elon Musk and has already launched over 1,000 satellites. However, the company says its services will have zero impact on astronomy projects. Astronomers, though, disagree, because the satellites are fitted with visors to block the glare from the sun, which makes them more than 30% brighter than other satellites. An assessment by scientists at the Square Kilometre Array, or SKA, conclude that the satellites could also slow the radio telescope's capabilities by up to 70%.
The SKA went through extremely rigorous processes to make sure that its site was in a radio dead zone, right? So because DSTV satellites also operate in pretty much the same band there. So you can't have DSTV satellites beaming down in that frequency. You can't have Starlink beaming down in that frequency because it's going to mess up the observations.
There are some mitigation options, though, including introducing international legislation. The aim would be to protect specific radio signal bands, so that they can only be used for astronomy research and not for commercial purposes. While the completion of the Square Kilometre Array radio telescope may be some years away, Starlink has already begun accepting pre-orders in South Africa for its service. There are a number of other companies also pursuing satellite-based internet services, which could lead to even greater challenges for radio astronomy observations around the world. Travis Andrews, CGTN, Cape Town.
Staying in South Africa, it's a good market for tire recycling as it generates more old tires than all the other southern African countries combined. A young lady from Rustenburg has taken up this opportunity to recycle old tire tubes into trendy luxury bags. CGTN's Sumitra Naidu brings us his story.
After 5 years of working in the recycling industry, Ria Betswe Ngwane thought of getting creative. She began using old tires to make luxury handbags.
Given my background in recycling, having started my first initiative recycling plastics, it was inevitable that the next business would also be within the recycling industry. Tyre started as a result of work that we've been commissioned to do by the government to assist in facilitating the tire recycling within our province, the Northwest Province. And having received excess tire tubes from respective transporters as well as community members, we sought ways to find how we could create products out of the excess tire tubes, because this was the one product that was not being recycled.
An estimated 11 million tires enter the South African market every year. This leads to old, unused tires piling up. But the government's waste management system, which has integrated tire recycling, has improved. Tire recycling is now near 60%, But breaking down this rubber is no easy job.
We then wash the tire tubes because they've been exposed to all sorts of environments. So we try to get the dirt out of the tire tubes and get them as clean as possible. Then from there they go through to our factory where they are then processed and cut into the respective patterns of the bags that we make, be it the retail bags that we're currently supplying through stores in different malls, or be it the bags that we make for the mining and construction industries. The tire tubes get converted into those bags, cut into those patterns, and then eventually sewn into the final product that can go into market.
Tires are necessary but never thought of as beautiful. But Ngwane's bags are attracting plenty of customers. The bags are not only pleasing to the eye, they're also extremely durable.
The space have provided us with the opportunity of retailing through some of the biggest malls in our country, such as Mall of Africa. This has honestly expanded our brick and mortar sales, but also has impacted our online sales because through the referral of our brick and mortar, as well as through the advertising that we conduct through social media, this has grown our online store quite vastly.
COVID-19 has been tough for everyone, including the Tyre business. But Ngwane has managed to hold on to all of her employees and has plans to start exporting to the rest of Africa. Sumitra Naidu, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Your business news is coming up after the break. Here's what you can expect. Sudan devalues currency in the latest effort to overcome the country's economic crisis and access debt relief.
It's just taken me completely out of my depth, but at the same time it's exciting. It's new, it's different, it's a challenge.
It's really exciting.
You don't find the stories of North Africa by sitting on the sidelines.
You've got to get out, go there, and you'll find them.
In the bazaars of Casablanca, among the crowds in Cairo,
who come to visit Cairo, the ancient capital of Egypt.
Along the waters of the Nile, along the sands of the Sahara.
No one else will take you where we can in North Africa. No one else will show you what it's all about. CGTN, see the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
It's time now for the business news. China has released its strategy for the improvement of rural areas. The State Council Information Office provided details of the #1 central document for 2021 at a news conference this morning. Zhao Bing reports from the conference site in Beijing.
China has always been putting rural and agricultural issues of top priority in China's national policies. In the #1 central document issued on Sunday, China again stressed the importance of rural vitalization and agricultural modernization. Actually, the idea of rural vitalization was not first proposed this year. It was first proposed at the 19th National CPC Congress, along with the task of poverty alleviation, which was completed by the end of last year. Apart from that, China has also made other substantial progress, such as increasing the agricultural production capacity and increasing rural people's incomes. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Ministry said all these outcomes have laid a solid foundation for the next step of our rural vitalization, and the outcomes of poverty alleviation should be consolidated to make that happen.
The two ensured aspects are the consolidation of the outcomes of the poverty eradication program and food security. The document highlighted the importance of a transitional period for the smooth transition from poverty eradication to rural vitalization, and ensuring that no large-scale poverty ever appears again. It also requested provincial governments to maintain the grain planting acreage and increase yield to ensure a constant annual production of 650 million plus tons in the 14th five-year plan period.
The #1 central document is issued every year. Wang Qiao has more on the details of the document for 2021.
The #1 central document is the first policy statement issued by China's central authorities each year, laying out priorities for policy. For nearly 2 decades, it focused on agriculture and rural areas. This year's document indicates that during the upcoming 14th five-year plan period, the Communist Party of China will regard work on agriculture, rural areas, and farmers as its top priority. The document aims to keep cultivated areas stable, with grain output of more than 650 billion kilograms. It aims to improve food safety and the quality of agricultural products, and ensure that growth of farmers' incomes outpaces that of urban residents. It also aims to implement plans for the modernization of agriculture and countryside, and promote more reform in rural areas. And it aims to consolidate the achievements of poverty eradication after nearly 100 million people were lifted out of poverty in 8 years. To prevent people falling back into poverty, experts say there is a need to establish and improve effective mechanism. Households who are unable to work should be included in the social security system. People who are relocated should be helped to overcome problems such as employment. And there should be a 5-year transition period in areas that have just completed eradication of extreme poverty.
There is a 5-year transitional period because many of our poverty-free areas and households are not well grounded. We helped them get on the horse, and we still need to escort them for a certain period. We need to strengthen the monitoring of people who might fall back into poverty. Programs like industrial poverty eradication and employment poverty eradication should continue.
The elimination of extreme poverty was completed in 2020. Now, experts say the vitalization of rural areas is a new stage of development. That task is expected to last until 2050, and it will have to overcome similar difficulties to poverty eradication. Issues of personnel, land, and money will need to be properly resolved.
We should use market-oriented means to attract external funds to those areas. This can help stimulate the enthusiasm of local businesses and farmers to invest in industry and infrastructure.
Experts say the vitalization of rural areas will involve reshaping the whole economic and social structure. It should reflect the unique value of rural natural resources and traditional culture. The aim is to ensure that rural areas are a base of high-quality agricultural products, beautiful environment, and a high-quality living space. Wang Qiao, CGTN.
In business news from the continent, Sudan's central bank has set the indicative rate of the country's currency at 375 pounds to the dollar from a previous official rate of 55 pounds. The move comes in an effort to overcome a crippling economic crisis and access debt relief. The change is also a key reform demanded by foreign donors and the International Monetary Fund, but was delayed for months as shortages of basic goods and rapid inflation complicated a fragile political transition. The success of the transition is seen as crucial to stability in the region.
We decided that our economy is at a situation that cannot be fixed without taking this decision. It is true, some foreign parties have said that if we take this decision, they can help us in certain ways. If we don't take it, we cannot help you or give you the aid we are giving you.
Starting on Monday, money designated for the aid of families in need will be rolled out in the Finance Ministry's account in the Sunday's currency. After that, according to the plans of government branches, the finance and solidarity ministries will kick-start it.
In Nigeria, the terminus market in Jos Plateau State used to be the biggest market in West Africa until a 2002 fire incident and 2 explosions that took place in 2014. Years later, the market is still in ruins. The Plateau State government says it has not been able to rebuild the market due to lack of resources and threats of another attack. Tasem Akende tells us more from Jos.
63-year-old Abdullahi Adam was a successful cloth trader at the terminus market until his 5 shops were burnt down in 2002. He says he lost goods worth over $50,000 and is now just trying to pick up the pieces.
My 5 shops burnt down. I lost everything. See me here now selling on a pedestrian bridge, trying to start again.
Terminus was an ultra-modern market located in Jos. The architectural masterpiece served as a tourist site for many who visited from far and near until a mysterious fire incident in 2002 destroyed the market. No one has claimed responsibility for it. To worsen the situation, suspected insurgents bombed areas around the market in 2014.
This used to be where many households found their source of livelihood. It was a hub for the sale of several commodities. Now it's in ruins.
Economic analysts say the rehabilitation of the terminus market by the government will reduce hardship on the traders and further create jobs.
It's going to address 3 issues, 3 cardinal issues, which is 1, job opportunity. Another one is revenue generation. Then I think the last one is security.
The Plateau government says it's in talks with the Chinese construction company to rebuild the market, but no exact time has been given.
Some Chinese investors came in, they expressed interest to the extent that we had done all they requested from us as a government to the point of providing them with a letter of comfort, which would give them a guarantee to come and construct the Jos main market.
Many say security has to be improved at the market to forestall further attacks. Until then, traders like Adam can only hope that things get better so business can boom again. Tasem Akende, CGTN Jos, Nigeria.
Tanzania has set a new goal of welcoming 5 million tourists annually over the next 5 years. The country's recently appointed Tourism and Natural Resources Minister is starting a 9-region tour to meet tourism players and discuss ways to revitalize the sector. Medium and small-scale players in Tanzania's tourism sector hope these government plans will help revive their businesses. CGTN's Daniel Kicho has more.
Tinga Tinga is a unique painting style created by the Tanzanian artist Edward Saidi Tinga Tinga 50 years ago. The famed dot motif style has inspired a generation of artists who depend on selling artwork to tourists as a means to feed their families. But global travel restrictions due to COVID-19 have cut their business by 90%. This market in 2019 was visited by thousands of tourists, but now it is empty. Edin Danger, the chairman of the Tinga Tinga cooperative and an artist himself, says the government's desire to increase tourism earning gives them hope.
In that new target of 5 million visitors, we as Tinga Tinga Society can attract even 2 million tourists. We leave the 3 million to others. I'm sure we can do that because globally, Tinga Tinga art is getting known and is well received.
It's not just the Tinga Tinga Center that has been hit. The Tanzania Tourism Board says just 800,000 tourists visited last year, a 47% plunge from 2019. During his re-election campaign, Tanzanian President John Magufuli promised to more than double the 2019 visitor numbers.
In the next 5 years, we have plans to increase the number of tourists to 5 million by the year 2025.
But Tanzania's handling of the pandemic could deter tourists. The government has not released COVID-19 data since May, so there's no clear understanding of how widespread the virus has become, especially now as new, more transmissible variants take hold. There is also no clear vaccination strategy, but earlier this month, The health minister said the country has no plans in place to accept COVID-19 vaccines and encourage citizens to take precautions like washing hands, but also to use herbal blends to boost immunity. That plan could hinder liftoff in the sector, which accounts for 17% of Tanzania's GDP and employs about 4 million Tanzanians. Those in the industry are taking matters into their own hands. Jamila Kawawa, a travel agent, says her company has reduced their service charge and are working on offers to entice travelers. But she says government support is key.
If the government works hard to promote all these places, we will hit that target and possibly even exceed that number.
According to the Bank of Tanzania, Tanzania's tourism earnings dropped to $1 billion in 2020, something that Edie, Jamila, and other small tourism players can attest to. They hope the Minister of Tourism's regional tour can offer solutions to a challenge that affects their very livelihoods. Daniel Kijo, CGTN, Dar es Salaam.
Winnie Madikizela Mandela is known to many South Africans as the mother of the nation. She was an iconic heroine of the struggle against apartheid. It's just over 2 years since she died. Activists across the world have been trying to keep her legacy alive with various initiatives. One such project involved a commemorative blanket. CGTN's Sumitra Naidu tells us more.
Winnie Madikizela Mandela was loved by millions of South Africans. Even though she courted a fair amount of controversy, Madikizela Mandela was a true freedom fighter. She spent 491 days behind bars during apartheid rule in South Africa. Tieuns Botha of Kingsday Textiles wanted to create something that would remind people of her bravery.
It's almost like energy has called us to that, to commemorate and honor this incredible woman. And the best way that I could ever think of that will make sure, as our slogan says, Mama Winnie forever in our homes and hearts, is to put an image that is a symbol not just of Mama Winnie and her principles and what she stands for.
After meeting Madikizela Mandela back in 2015, Botha began creating a blanket to remind people of her warmth and devotion to her community. Madikizela Mandela was the first black medical social worker at the Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital. She shared a particular concern for young women.
Mama Winnie always very specifically said to me that she was very concerned about the female youth in particular.
A blanket is significant in African culture. It is often used in traditional ceremonies, and in some cultures, women must wrap themselves in blankets after someone has died.
It's a beautiful thing that Mama left. She lived a very difficult life. And, you know, as a woman, they say you strike a woman, you strike a rock. So she is the epitome of that. She had to be there to make sure that a possibility of a democratic country where everybody lived as one people, not seeing any race, any color, where we see women are also realized in the space of business, in the space of politics, in the space of the community.
The blankets are manufactured in China. Each one comes with a certificate and a unique number to authenticate the purchase. The picture printed on the blanket is taken from her book titled 491 Days alongside her prison number. Sumitra Naidu, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
The sport news is coming up after the break. Here's what you can expect. Tanzania swimming hopeful Colin Saliboko eyes Tokyo 2020 Olympic ticket.
Every year, approximately 400 million tons of plastic is produced, and about 40% of that is single use.
79% of that is not recycled, it's not turned into energy, it's just going into landfill or into the environment in some way.
With the global focus on plastic pollution,